Good morning, everyone. It is good to be here to share some biblical reflection for our context of uncertainty. The COVID 19 crisis and the accompanying social and economic changes that have emerged and will continue to emerge forces us to reimagine our understanding of mission field along with our understanding of church, God, and our ministry in general. In the time of uncertainty, some of us are coping with the situation by hoping to get back to the normal life which we were used to. Some of us are getting used to the new normal and trying to live with the current situation. Some of us are really got into the stage where the current situation become an opportunity to strive for new initiatives that is appealing to many in lockdown. Current situation changed our priorities in church life and drives towards reordering church's priorities and fundamentally reshapes the work of the church and its initiative. In this time of uncertainty, church leaders started to reorient themselves to a new reality and make choices about what needs to be done and what is possible to move forward. Change in any established structure is not an easy process, but it is a challenging process which is not everyone will be in favor of. It is challenging in few ways. One is we are not sure when the crisis will come to an end, the uncertainty of the future. Secondly, how to tackle the current situation. For example, not able to go to the church to worship the Lord, not able to see friends and families. And for some people, church is the only place where they come to meet their friends and have a social time. And that's the only place for some the spiritual encounter happens. But the new situation totally turned down all those traditional ones, which is not an easy thing to take it in for many people. And thirdly, where is the hope and how do we strive towards hopeful future? Let me use a biblical example to see a similar experience the Jewish community have gone through and what we could learn from their experience. One of the major historical events that happened in the life of Jewish community was their captivity in Babylon. People, mostly the political leaders, elites, rich people, and skilled people were uprooted from their country, and which is not an easy experience. The struggle to leave behind a world they were familiar with, the temple worship which placed an important aspect in their life. It is not a straightforward comparison of Babylonian exile with the current situation. The comparison is not the exile in terms of dislocation of the community, rather the experiences that the captivity brought to the life of the people. The missing experience of what is left behind, the land, the family, temple, worship. In any captivity that people experience will start with the wrestling with the two worlds. The world they left behind or they used to, and the other is the new world they are currently living in. The wrestling aspect is even harder when we do not know when the situation will come to an end or where it leads to. Every moment will be a self-discovery. Some people may adopt the new situation lightly and get on with their life and find some alternative solution to it. But for some, may not be an easy task, which may end up either in isolating themselves from the current situation or go into depression. The exiled community in the biblical history had a similar experience. In their initial period of captivity, they longed to return to their homeland and therefore did not adopt their current life and isolated themselves and mourning for their families and the land and especially for the temple, which is clear in Psalm 137 where it says, "By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down and there we wept when we remember Zion." On the willows there we hung our harps. For there our captors asked us for songs, and our tormentors asked for mirth, saying, Sing us one of the songs of Zion. How could we sing the Lord's song in a foreign land? This lament gives the idea that the worship aspect of their life is changed, and they find it hard in a new situation to practice their traditional way of doing things, the traditional way of worship. It is not only the worship and singing song they find it difficult, but also they were not able to recognize the presence of God in a foreign situation. They limited the presence of God in their homeland, or God's presence could be only experienced in Jerusalem temple and in their land, therefore not to be sung in a foreign environment. But also the Song of Zion sung during the time of their victory over their enemies, therefore can't be sung in this current situation because they lost their battle. So from this experience, I would like to make my first point here. There is a new learning that's happening here, which is to delimit the presence of God and reimagining the presence of God in unexpected places. Though it is a foreign land, though it is a different culture, though they have never traveled this way before, though you don't have a power in that new situation, you are a stranger in that situation, but still they were able to hear the voice of God, which helped them to move forward. That's a voice of God through prophet Jeremiah in chapter 29, where it says, Thus says the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, to all the exiles whom I have sent into exile from Jerusalem to Babylon. Build houses and live in them, plant gardens and eat what they produce. Take wives and have sons and daughters. Take wives for your sons and give your daughters in marriage, that they may bear sons and daughters. Multiply there and do not decrease. But seek the welfare of the city where I have sent you into exile, and pray to the Lord on its behalf. For in its welfare you will find your welfare. This is a call for them to recognize that God is still active and He is present in their very struggle. God is not one who is locked inside the doors, nor God is one who ignored the struggles of His people, nor He is limited to one place, but He is everywhere, especially when there is a struggle and suffering. God speaks where they are. It is important that we listen to the voice of God within our current struggle. Where is the voice of God? Do you hear any prophetic voice in our current situation? Use the current situation to learn to look at the opportunities you now inhabit. What this calamity has revealed about our understanding of God. Can you hear God's voice? If so, what God is saying? Which leads to my second point, which is, are we listening to God's voice in our current situation? Revisiting our sense of call. When there were so many other voices which made people to wait to go back to their previous situation. But God's voice through Jeremiah made them to settle in that current situation and move forward. But the voice of God may come as a mild and vulnerable as we are in this current situation and among the community where we are placed. The voice reminds us of our original call. In this case, God's voice reminded them of their original call. That is, if you read Genesis 12, verse 3, in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. Now look at the Jeremiah's passage where it says, seek the welfare of the city I have sent you. In their welfare, you will find your welfare. It's a reminder of the original call. The new situation enabled them to reimagine or revisit their original sense of call. This reminds us to revisit our sense of call. What is your call, vocation? before the lockdown? Has it changed now or remains the same? Or God is calling you to something different that is needed in this current situation? Maybe this is a time to revisit. As happens often when disaster strikes, this is a chance to re-examine what seemed the unshakable foundation of our faith, our traditional understanding of what is church and what is to be a disciple in this current situation. Which moves to my third question, reimagining worshiping community. Exilic experience paved the way for them to reimagine the worship space which took a central place in their life. No Jerusalem temple for them to have their sacrifices done, but slowly the new situation helped them to reimagine worship space in a different way. Synagogues started to emerge during this time of captivity. When one way of worship is closed, there was another way the worship emerged. We may go back to the normality, but the normality will not be this one we used to, but may be different. Even when you go back to the normality, the way you will look at things may not be the same. In our current context, people find it difficult to accept the fact that they are not able to worship the Lord in the church building. Though most of us find it difficult at the beginning of the lockdown, but soon some of us adapted the new situation and found new way of worshiping the Lord by using technology. Our home and garden where we record our online services become the worship space. People who watch the service at home from their living room, kitchen, dining area, and those places become worshiping place. This new situation helped us to recognize the fact that God is everywhere and we need to worship Him in spirit and in truth. And also it taught us a lesson that worship is where God is. And where is God? God dwells where people are. So the worship needs to happen where people are. That's where God dwells. In a way, this situation broadened our understanding of God and being a worshiping community which has no doors and walls. The new situation not only makes us to reimagine and revisit things that we are already doing, but also creates new opportunities. The next point I would like to make is the new situation of captivity gave new tasks for the people of God. Jeremiah's passage gives them the mission work that needs to be done in their new situation. That is not only seeking the welfare of the city they were sent to, but also praying on their behalf. We never heard such a kind of message in the life of Israelites. The new situation created a new mission task, that is to care for the people among whom they made their dwelling. It's not just a different group of people for whom they were asked to pray for, but they are their enemies. They are the reason for their captivity. But the task is to pray for their enemies, which is a difficult task for them to do. The new situation will bring new mission opportunities, which we may find it difficult. But what are the new mission opportunities in our new context that we have today? The new situation not only helped them to revisit who they are and where is God in a new context for mission as a people of God, but also enabled them to be strong in their faith, which helped them to revisit their scriptures. Most of the Pentateuch being written after their exilic experience. New leaders emerged, new religious leaders emerged in new context. For example, high priesthood emerged during the time of exile. So the new situation should enable us to reimagine so many things we have been doing previously, and also creates new opportunities that is relevant for the context in which we live today. Look out for God's presence in the world and listen where God's voice is coming from. revisit your sense of call, and look out for new opportunities for mission in our context today. God bless you.